Our next brave speaker tonight is Adam Silva. Adam's a regular 26-year-old guy. He went to Mariah. He tells a good joke or two. And Addy also lives with anxiety, depression, and schizophrenia. And his story is one of resilience, the strength of relationships and family, and how the resilience and love of those around him transformed their fear into curiosity and helped guide him on the journey he's still on today. Adam's speech is raw and personal, and this is his first time sharing it with an audience. Please welcome Adam Silva.
Imagine for a moment you are talking to someone. Imagine their face. Imagine yourself talking. You say something, and they say something back. It's a conversation. Now imagine, alongside the voice of the person you're talking to, you can hear other voices, but they're not real. You recognize some of them. Some sound like the person you're talking to. Some sound like your own voice. Some sound like strangers, but they're not real. And they're not always neutral either. They talk to each other, often about you. They're critical and they're anxious. Some are fearful and some are paranoid, even conspiratorial. Imagine that it's hard to tell where one voice ends and one voice begins. It's up to you to make sense of it, like learning a whole new language of reality. Meanwhile, the person you're talking to is looking at you trying to understand why you seem so distracted. That's what it's like for me. My name is Adam, and I was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia when I was 24. Many of us split our lives into before and after major events, a loss, a breakup, or something so significant and disruptive it splits your life in two. In my case, my life changed forever when I started experiencing psychosis. I was 21, happy, motivated, optimistic. I had an offer to study engineering commerce at UNSW. I was funny. I still am. Independent, capable, I did voluntary work with Maccabi and Camp Silva. I had a close group of friends, I went to parties, I did a gap year in Europe, and my future looked bright. I was in control. Until I wasn't. Schizophrenia is a thought disorder, including psychosis, delusions, and hallucinations. I was officially diagnosed in 2019, after 3 years of not knowing what was happening to me. It all started when I was 21, with being unable to sleep for days at a time. Then the voices started, and they can be relentless. The more anxious I felt, the louder they got. It's hard to describe them. It's like background noise, but against you. Anything can become whispers. Running water, children playing, even the sound of yourself breathing. Penetrating your thoughts, blending into other sounds. At first they say I was a loser, a failure, then much, much worse. Slowly, psychosis twisted my life like a kaleidoscope, until I couldn't tell what was real. My emotions turned erratic, switching from aggressive to kind to terrified. I tried to concentrate on what people were saying, but I couldn't distinguish. Most days I woke up too scared to see anyone, too scared to speak, or be spoken to. So I stayed in bed, hoping tomorrow would be different. One day when I was alone, I heard someone singing. It was high-pitched and haunting. I tried to cover my ears, but they wouldn't stop. I was terrified. What's more, the voices made me suspicious of people, including my family. I thought my parents were plotting against me. I even sent delusional messages to people about that. It's hard to understand. But the thing about delusions, they are much more powerful than reason, especially when there's no one to talk to. Time went on. I grew more suspicious. Everyone was watching me, whispering about me, laughing. It was agonizing. I lost confidence. I lost friends. I lost many things that I loved. I made rash decisions. I was unpredictable. One day I left home for weeks. I checked into a dingy hotel in the city. I was scared and confused, and I tried not to let the voices overwhelm me. Occasionally, psychosis would subside for brief periods. Honestly, those times were some of the hardest, because suddenly I knew the hurt I was causing. Because grief waits for you. Alongside with bending my reality, psychosis stole my concentration and corrupted my memory. I was prescribed medication. Nothing worked at first. Everything had side effects. Worst of all was the loneliness. No one could understand. Of all the challenges, I think the hardest part is loneliness and isolation, by far. There were lots of inclusive spaces for people with intellectual or physical disabilities. But having a mental illness is different. There have been times when I felt so down that I thought I'd rather if this is my life, I'd rather not live it. I'd rather have cancer. Then at least people would want to understand. instead of distancing themselves or treating me with caution or putting me down. My official diagnosis was a significant event, but mostly for my family, I don't remember it that well. By February 2021, I was desperate for change, at an all-time low. I was admitted to a clinic, encouraged to try a more powerful medication, and thankfully this time it started to help. My symptoms didn't disappear, but there was much more space between them and me. To think my own thoughts, I still have trouble with that. 2 years later, I will take medication every day. I still take medication every day. I still experience waves of intense anxiety, which gets in the way of my plans, even things I really want to do. It can be quite frustrating. I still hear voices every day. Medication is not a cure, but it helps. It makes me very drowsy, and I have trouble staying awake for long periods of time. It makes me gain weight. I gained 15 kilos for the first year. But standing here feeling like everyone is watching me, at least I know you really are. That was a joke. I'm so funny, like I said. I'm also caring, loving, and kind-hearted. I try to help others. I want a good life, with all the opportunities any person deserves. I want to fall in love. But it's hard for people with mental illness, the isolation. Even in a close-knit community like ours, I still thought of as the guy who did crazy things all those years ago. Initially, it was difficult to accept my diagnosis, but now I do. But I refuse to accept the labels, the fears and misconceptions, and the stigma. That's why I want to share my story tonight, to help you all understand, to help you appreciate what it's like, for me and for others. To tell you all that sometimes I feel broken and confused by how little education there is, to help people recognize and respond to mental illness. Genetic illnesses like schizophrenia only appear in late teens, early 20s, affecting 1 in 100. People need to know that. So please talk to your family and friends tonight about what you hear and feel. Be an advocate for inclusion, because I won't be the last person to go through this. I want us all to be more ready to help care for people as a community, without shaming and blaming, without judging. No disability should bring shame. Schizophrenia is a thought disorder, not a character flaw. It does not make me violent. It does not make me dangerous. It does not make me less deserving of dignity and respect. It gives me a mountain to climb, and I'm climbing it, with help from others, my support team, my family, and friends. On that note, I'd like to thank my mum, who has been my rock. She has sacrificed so much without resentment, with pure love, real love, unconditional love, and the most powerful force. She knocks on doors until they open. She puts my need first. Mom, you are a role model for being an advocate. You remind me that I'm so much more than my illness every day. In general, I'm lucky to have a family who's with me. To all of you, I don't know where I'd be without you. I have schizophrenia. It doesn't go away. I am not healed or cured because I take medication. My story is not the past, it is my reality. I give you permission to share it with others. And I hope that sharing it here will do some good. I hope that in the future there will be more education for young people in schools about mental illness and how to recognize when someone needs help and about what to do if you need help. Thank you.